Welcome to the Spring into Discovery Space webinar series. I'm Michael Gregory from the European Physical Institute, and I'm joined by a couple of our Discovery Space partners from across Europe, who I'll introduce in a second. Just to introduce this webinar series is to introduce to teachers across Europe the Discovery Space project, to take you through a number of learning scenarios. Each of the webinars will go over a different learning scenario or an aspect of the platform. This one being the first one is a launch to welcome, to explain both the webinar series, the schedule for it, the implementation contest, which hopefully will interest a number of you, and then to go into detail on how to create an account, get into the platform, how to use it, and some of the theory behind it. So I'm joined by two of my colleagues from ICCS in Athens. There's Nikos, who you'll be hearing from more in a bit. Nikos, do you feel like saying hi?
So hello everyone, and I hope you're enjoying the little webinar we have prepared here for you. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you, Nikos. And as well at ICCS, there's Evangelia joining us as well.
Hi everyone.
And then also from Greece, we have Dimitris from Germaniki, who's our expert in the theory behind it. So he'll today be introducing some of the inquiry approach and the idea behind the platform, or the goals that we're trying to accomplish. And then next week, hopefully you won't miss out on his webinar on the pendulum learning scenario, which was the first one we had. So Dimitris, do you want to briefly say hi?
Yes, hi all. Looking forward for a great discussion today, and thank you for being here.
Excellent. And so now I'll share my screen, because I'll start off by introducing you both to the webinar series and the implementation challenge. So for what to expect, I seem to be. Are we seeing my screen okay now?
Yes, now we can see it.
Perfect. Okay. So this is the first webinar in a series of, I think it's 7 we have scheduled. It might be 8 with the grand finale, where we'll introduce the winners of the implementation scenario. Here's what to expect for today. So the first part with me, I'll be going over the webinar schedule and the implementation challenge. Then we'll hear from Dimitris on the goals of the platform and on the inquiry approach. And then from Nikos going into detail about the Discovery Space platform. And we should have time at the end if there are questions to follow up on that. So the webinar schedule, and those of you who've joined, I hope you also received the schedule. Here it's cut into 2 pages, but I'm going to briefly get out of this to show you the page and navigate up and down on it. I'll also add the link into the chat afterwards. Hopefully you've seen this and you're already interested, but just to go over, this is a terrible view for this. Okay, there, that view should be a little bit better. So here we are at the first one. And we have one every week until the middle of May. So as I mentioned before, we'll see from Dimitris again for the pendulum learning scenario, which was the first one that was used to pilot the inquiry model that we're using. So an excellent one to start with. Then we'll hear from one of our partners in Portugal, Nucleo, with a mission to Mars learning scenario, which brings in some of the cutting edge science behind the NASA missions to Mars, and relates it to a typical middle school, high school science curriculum. So again, across Europe, we're going to be teaching with very different curricula, but this should hit a number of goals while bringing in cutting edge science. Next, you'll be stuck with me. I'll be leading the next webinar, which is on the Zookeepers of the Galaxy learning scenario, which is one I developed using data from the Zooniverse dataset, looking at identifying different kinds of galaxies. So that typically comes up near the end of a high school physics option in the physics program and an astronomy option. But this scenario makes it accessible for younger people using an image recognition analysis and teaching AI or machine learning through an astronomy activity. Then we're still working on the date and confirming for sure, but we should go back to Elena EA in Athens, one of Dimitris's colleagues, with a learning scenario on Galileo's measurements that takes a first principles approach, looking at what Galileo could see in the sky and the physics that can be derived from it. So kind of using the inquiry model to put students into the perspective of a scientist with what you could observe and putting together some of the physics behind that. Then we'll hear from Nucleo again, from Luisa, who's a wonderful colleague in Portugal, on the Earth's annual journey, which is about the seasons and different common misconceptions students have about the position of the sun, how that gives rise to seasons, using a simulation looking at different angles of sun, the amount of energy incident on the Earth. Then finishing off with me again, so you're stuck with me one more time, and using, again, a machine learning model to look at different types of cells, distinguishing between plant and animal cells by looking at common patterns that could be recognized both by students when cells are introduced at the beginning of high school science and by a machine learning algorithm. And then we finish off by announcing the winners of the implementation challenge, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about. So I'll go back to my slides for the implementation challenge. And the implementation challenge, so this is a challenge where now that things are finally ready, so the Discovery Space project, we're now into our third year, a couple months into our third year. The first year and a half, there wasn't, we didn't have the platform ready for teachers to be using, to be trying out with students. And now we have the platform ready, we have a number of scenarios in there, and we're excited to get it into the hands of teachers. So the idea behind this challenge is to add a little bit of extra motivation to get you guys to try it out in your classrooms so that you can see this wonderful thing we've been working on. So you'll notice, and there's a link which I'll also add into the chat. I'm terrible at copying into the chat and sharing my screen at the same time, so it'll come just afterwards. Also, if you miss any of the links, you'll be receiving an email afterwards with all the slides, with all the links. So don't worry about scrambling to write anything down right now. And the implementation challenge, we're tying it in, well, it's a way of tying in opportunities to go further and learn more about Discovery Space to those of you who show an interest and show that you're interested in using it and that you're eager to learn more. So the prizes, there's up to 10 teachers for each category who could be chosen based on the number of times you implement it in a classroom and on the number of times you attend webinars. So you can see this point here, students completing scenarios. That's what we call one implementation, because that's like an instance of running through a scenario. So for each student running through a scenario, like say you try it with a class of 20 students, then that would be 20 implementations of a scenario on the platform. And so say like one teacher has big classes, like 40 students, and did it with 2 classes, that'd be 80 implementations. And then another teacher with maybe classes of, let's say 5 students, really tiny classes, then they'd need to do 16 different scenarios to have the same number of implementations of a colleague with really big classes. And then 7 points for webinars you attend. The goal of the webinars really isn't for you to try and like score points for the challenge. It's to help you implement the scenarios because a lot of them are introducing something new. At least the platform will be new to almost all of you. But sometimes, depending where you're coming from, the inquiry approach, you might be very familiar with already. It might be somewhat new, or some of the approaches we have might be new. So that's why we want to support as much as possible with this series of webinars. So to get to the prizes, for those of you who are interested, the first prize is hopefully the most exciting. That's why it's number 1. It's a chance to attend the Discovery Space Summer School in Marathon, Greece. Dimitris, I believe, will be the lead behind that again. He was last year. And that'll take place the second week of July. And it's a week-long event with a number of guest speakers. If he wants, he can probably add more to it, but I think the program's still being worked on as we speak to know who's going to be speaking. But I was there last year, and it was an excellent event. For me, I would say it's an exciting prize. The second prize, that's an EPS prize, European Physical Society. So you'd get to come to Mulhouse, France, which is where I work. Well, I often work long distance, but it's the headquarters for the European Physical Society for Discovery Space training there. And then the third prize is to bring training to your school. So that would be one of the partners, probably me, but it depends on the situation. If you prefer someone else, we can see if someone else is available, but to run something adapted at your school level. So that's the challenge. That's it for the parts I wanted to share. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Should stop sharing my screen. Okay. And now, and pretty much on time. I was expecting to spend 10 minutes. I'm 11 minutes in. I'll turn things over to Dimitris to introduce the theory behind it, the goals that we want to accomplish, and the inquiry model that we're using.
Okay. So welcome. Thank you very much, Michael, for the kind introduction. How we're going to perform from now on is that I will give, as Michael said, a brief introduction on what is the purpose behind developing this platform, and then Nikos and Evangelia, who are the brains in all the technical details, will tell you more about the platform. Next week, as Michael presented, we're going to go through the pendulum scenario, which is the simplest one from the scenarios that are already available there, and then there will be a series of presentations for the other scenarios. So with that said, let's dive into it. So Nikos, can we go to the next slide? Thank you very much. So I would like to start and say that our main goal in this project is to measure and develop students' collaborative problem-solving competence. And as you can see here in this table, these are the results from PISA, from a measurement in collaborative problem-solving competence, which took place back in 2015. These results, I don't know if you can see it in the screen. They have been published in 2017, and yes, and as you can see there, what PISA, the classification that PISA followed was, as you see, below level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. From the things that you're going to hear throughout these webinars, students who are in below level 1 and level 1, okay, we classify them again according to the PISA as low performers. Those in level 2 and level 3 as moderate performers, and the ones at level 4, of course, they're high performance. And there you can see in this red box that for Greece, we observed a very, not a very good result. So as you can see that there are around 40% low performers, around 55% of moderate performers, and the percentage of high performers is really, really small at 2% at this time. So then there was a discussion, what can we do to somehow find a solution to this problem? How can we increase the number of how can we have more students transitioning from low to moderate, from moderate to high, and at the end, how we can see more high performers? So if we go to the next slide, thank you. A few years ago, a program ran called Inspiring Science, and that was solely based on inquiry-based learning. So 8,000 students were presented with different educational scenarios, and then you can see that there were 4 distinct phases: orientation and asking questions, hypothesis generation and design, planning and investigation, and finally an analysis and an interpretation. And the results that were measured were very, very encouraging, because as you can see, okay, in low performers, still we had 33%, 40% in moderate performers, but there was a spike, an increase in high performers at 27%. So the discussion was that, you know what, if we are about to develop students' problem-solving competence, inquiry-based learning should definitely be a part of the solution. Now, if we move forward, the next thing that we should take something like an X-ray, if you want, of a traditional classroom model. So what is a traditional classroom model? Is what you see here in this plot. there is a teacher and there is one single learning path for all the students. So you see that all the students receive the same content, and this is not a good, let's say, situation, because a very strong student, a high performer, will find that boring and he will lose interest. A low performer will struggle to follow, and again, he will lose interest. So the question is, what is the ideal situation? What would be the ideal situation? And Nikos, if we go to the next frame, is of course what you see here, something like, if we can call it like that, a private tutor model that you see. You have 3 different teachers, 3 different students, student A, student B, student C. And because each one of these teachers knows very well the needs and the weak points of each student, he can create for him or for her, she or he, the teacher, can create for the student a personalized learning path. So as you can see here in this picture, there are 3 different personalized learning paths from 3 different teachers. But of course, this is a very expensive picture. It's impossible in a classroom, you know, with 25 students to have 25 teachers. This will be a mess. And here, after inquiry-based learning, is the next part, and this is artificial intelligence, AI agent. So what Discovery Space, what is the vision of the Discovery Space, and what is, of course, the vision that we try to achieve is this picture that you see here, that you have a teacher preparing an educational scenario and taking into account the needs of the low, the moderate, and the high performer. But because it's impossible to know, you know, who is the moderate, who is the high, and so on, there will be an AI agent. So students will interact with, let's say, the computer, and they will perform tasks, virtual experiments, or even use remote labs, answer questions, reading texts, and so on. And through this valuable guidance of the AI agent, each student will have his or her own personalized learning path. Nikos will present shortly how these paths can be recorded with the platform in the system. And it's crucial, Michael said in his beautiful introduction, that we need implementation. And one reason that we need a lot of implementation is that because we want to train as much better as possible this AI agent. So this is what we try to achieve. And if we continue to the next slide. So we said that we need artificial intelligence and, of course, inquiry-based learning. Now, the picture that you see here at the left of the screen is from a seminal work from Pedast and co-workers published a few years ago. And there they said that, okay, though it's not very strictly defined that, you know, in inquiry-based learning, of course, you want to take a problem and break it into pieces and guide the students through the different phases, but the names of the phases are not strictly defined, neither the number of the phases. So for our needs and in order to be in accordance with the PISA regulations and everything, we have chosen to have 5 inquiry phases, which you can see in this plot: engagement, hypothesis, experiment, analysis, and finally the reflection phases. What do we do in each one of these phases? In the engagement, we present a phenomenon to the students through an appropriate demonstration. We try to spark their interest and try to motivate them to, you know, to work on its understanding. Then we go to the hypothesis and we say, okay, now you have seen this phenomenon. Can you make some hypothesis? Which are the crucial parameters? For example, in the pendulum, we ask them, okay, if we increase the length of the rope or if we increase the mass, what is the period doing? Then, okay, they record their hypothesis and we go to experiment. And there students will use either a virtual or a remote lab, and they do actual experiments. So we ask them, you know, to validate or reject their hypothesis. If the scenario is very complex, we have a scenario for the photoelectric effect. There is a data analysis, okay, that we say, based on your data, what do you observe? Sometimes this phase of the data analysis is merged with the experiment. And finally, students who are very competent and they can move through the different inquiry phases without any difficulties reach the reflection phase. And there, once they reflect on what they have learned so far, we try, you know, to spark their interest even more and try to challenge them even more with a series of more demanding questions. Now, one last thing is that, as you can see in this plot, there are some loops, some exit loops. And what is the system doing is that, okay, at every inquiry phase, we try to evaluate the student. So students that have some misunderstandings are going into this loop, and then they get targeted feedback from this AI agent. So they get some help, and then they move to the next phase. So instead of implementing somehow summative assessment, that at the end we give an overall evaluation to the students, we go for formative assessment, assessment for learning. So we want to make sure that once students transition from one phase to another, we have tried at least to face their misunderstandings as good as possible. And now in this way, some students will go into this loop, they will get some feedback, others will not. These personalized learning pathways start to get created. Finally, if we go to the next, yes, thank you very much. So in this frame, what we see the Discovery Space vision. And as you can see in the picture, on top, we have a traditional classroom, and on the bottom, we have a science lab. And our goal is to merge these two, that we have this deeper learning classroom where students develop critical deeper learning skills, competencies, and they can collaborate, they have critical thinking, they can communicate efficiently, and so on. And there, we need inquiry based to achieve that. And of course, AI comes, as an indispensable tool for that, because it allows to the teacher, who by the way is a facilitator of this process, so has a crucial role, to get an overview of how the class is performing and to be able to resume control at any time and, help specific student groups. With that said, I will leave the word to Nikos to go through all the technical details of the platform, and next week we're going to see together the pendulum scenario.
All right. So thank you, Dimitri. I can just go to the next slide. All right. So let me give you a brief overview of the platform itself. And after the presentation, we will be demonstrating an online demo for you to feel more comfortable with the platform itself again. So accessible through trustailab.eu, the platform allows teachers to create inquiry-based scenarios and assign them to their students. Students interact with an AI conversational agent that guides them through a series of predefined questions made by you, the teachers. So, depending on their answers, the agent adapts, providing relevant feedback and direct them to the next appropriate questions. Additionally, a comprehensive dashboard allows teachers to assess student performance and adjust scenarios as needed. So currently the platform supports 11 scenarios across various STEM topics. These include fundamental concepts such as the pendulum, as Dimitris said, Galileo's observations, the photoelectric effect, Newton's law, and more. What's particularly valuable is that these scenarios are multilingual, supporting English, Greek, and Portuguese at the moment. This variety and accessibility help ensure that students can engage with the material in a language they are comfortable with, enhancing their learning experience. So the Trust AI platform also supports organization management. This will be clear once we proceed with the demo, but right now, teachers can create their own organizations, such as schools or educational institutes, and add other teachers as members of the same organization. This is the first thing you should do after registering on this platform. And this structure serves one important purpose. It promotes collaboration between teachers, allowing them to co-create scenarios and share educational resources. On the next slide, so before starting a pilot implementation, you can generate credentials for all students, download them as an Excel file, and distribute them to your students. What's convenient is that existing student groups can be edited to add new scenarios without having to recreate groups from scratch. So this makes it very efficient to manage large groups of students. On the next slide here, so now let's talk about the AI Learning Companion, which lies at the core of the Trust AI platform. So this AI system provides automated guidance and feedback during STEM laboratory courses. It perceives and interprets the lab environment, offers recommendations for personalized learning pathways, and assists teachers in assessing students' progress. It's important to emphasize that this AI component is not replacing teachers. Instead, it acts as a tutor and a guide, helping students navigate complex concepts and tasks while providing valuable insights to their teachers. So the AI companion enhances the learning experience by supplementing the teacher's role, not replacing it. So the teachers still remain at the center of the learning process, empowered by AI to offer more effective, tailored support. One of the most powerful features of the Trust AI platform is the dashboard analytics. The dashboard offers multiple ways to analyze student performance and learning pathways. We will see them in great detail with a demo, but right now we can see here a Sankey diagram, which is designed to track how students progress through through the phase of a scenario. Categorize them, as Dimitris said before, high, moderate, and low performers. We have the time per activity per category of students. So the platform also tracks the time spent on each activity across different categories of students. And we also have the pathway analysis per phase, which is this here. So it illustrates the most common scenario paths, as well as the common paths per phase. The visual representation helps teachers understand how students are progressing through the scenarios and where improvements might be needed. Right here, a particular fascinating insight that we are going to see afterwards as well is that the photoelectric effect that ran the last August, where it was accompanied by 27 students, where 26 of them had a unique pathway through the scenario. So this indicates a high degree of individualization and variation on how students approach the learning task. So the platform's flexibility allows teachers to identify these diverse pathways and provide tailored support to students based on their unique learning journeys. In addition to pathway analytics, the platform also offers detailed student performance metrics. Teachers can download performance data as a CSV file, which includes problem-solving characterization for each student. These metrics provide valuable insights into individual and group performance, allowing teachers to make data-driven decisions to enhance learning outcomes. Finally, for additional support, the platform also includes a comprehensive documentation page. Teachers can refer to it for enhanced tutorials, troubleshooting, and guidance on how to best utilize the various features of the platform. And we highly recommend exploring the documentation to fully leverage the capabilities of Trust AI platform. So that is the presentation. Thank you all for your attention. I hope this presentation has given you a clear understanding of the Trust AI platform and its potential to enhance STEM education through personalized learning pathways. And I'm happy now to answer any questions you may have, and we can proceed to the live demo. So thank you.
And if people have questions, should we encourage them to write in the chat or to use their microphone or either?
I don't have an issue at all. Either is fine.
And so if anyone does have any questions, please don't be shy. And if something comes up later, because it's likely that when you actually go to do this, then things might come up later, then please don't be shy, at least to contact me. But I believe probably Nikos, you're happy to be contacted as well, right?
Yep, sure. So if we don't have any questions, so we can proceed to the live demo. to have a more clear understanding of the platform. So I'm right now in incognito. Here's the link. Here's the login page you'll be land to. And the first thing, you're going to create an account. It's important to remember the access code that is shared with you. It's this right here. So I'm just going to create an account like all you're going to do next. So just mail. And the password. All right. So after creating an account, I'm going to log in. So here's the landing page inside the platform. As you can see, I have landed at the dashboard, which is empty at the moment. We'll go back to it later. So first of all, as we said, I'm going to create an organization. I'm going to click on the top right on my name and click on organizations. Here you can see all the organizations currently made from different partners and teachers across Europe. So I just create an organization here. Example, Greece, Greek, and I'll upload a picture. So right now I have created my organization, and I can also find teachers and my colleagues actually from the same school and add them to the same organization. I'm going to just add Vangelia, my colleague. So I'll just search by a name, I found it, and then just add here to the organization. Right now, if I create a scenario and make it organizational only, Evangelia can also go to my scenario and edit it alongside with me. Next thing is the different scenarios that are currently available to the platform. As you can see, as we saw on the presentation, there are currently 11 scenarios, and here's some of them. Like the pendulum, the photoelectric effect, on different languages. How it is created, it will be better to be presented afterwards by Dimitris on the next webinar, where you can see in a greater detail how can we create a scenario like the pendulum or the photoelectric effect, how to create the activities for low, moderate, and high performance, and the explanations, and each activity as well. Right now, I'm going just to, let's say I like the photoelectric effect. I'll create a student group where I can run it with my class. So I'll just create a new group. Group names can be something like something like that. A prefix, a user prefix is the characters in the username that are going to be created. Right now, the credentials for students are completely anonymous. So this ensures that they will remain anonymous. So I'm just going to write like that. And number of users, let's say 10. And I'm going to find the scenario that I'm currently interested to run so that this group can run it. And It's photoelectric effect. I'll just create the group. Okay, so how can I distribute these credentials to my students? First of all, I'll download the credentials in the desktop. Yeah. I'm not sure if you can see the screen. Can you see the Excel? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So here are the credentials made from the system. It's automatically generated. So as I wrote the first characters, and then you can see the numerical values increasing. So each one of these is a different user account for this platform, but they have the role as student, not the teacher. So they cannot see the scenarios, see the dashboard, or create their organization or groups. They can only answer the assigned scenarios you have given to that group. What will they see? So I'll just go to student view, find the photoelectric effect. So here you can see two buttons. The students they are only going to see start. They cannot restart the experiment. You as a teacher, because you may want to run it multiple times in order to change things, paths or content, you have the ability to restart, but the students cannot. So I'll just say start. And here we have the introduction of the photoelectric effect made by the Koulentianos and Dimitris. Here are some questions that I'm presented. So the answers here. And this is pretty much it. So here you can see different explanations and questions. So this is an explanation activity. Before I was presented by a question activity. Right now, I'm just doing the photoelectric effect. And let's say that the students have completed the experiment, and I'll go back to the dashboard. I select the scenario. Here's the group that I have created. Right now, I could not select it because I don't have any students answering for that group. I will put the correct dates that the implementations were done, and I'll hit apply. Right now, this is what I told you before. It's the photoelectric effect that ran on previous August. And here you can see the sagging diagram. So how the high performers went into the different phases of the scenario and the alternative paths that they were made. The final student performance, for example, for this scenario alone, we only had one overall high performer, 25 moderate and one low. The correct and incorrect answers of different questions inside the scenario. The average time spent for each activity inside the scenario by the students. The percentage of low, moderate, and high performers alongside on the different phases, the detailed phase scores, number of performers, and the most important path graph for you, maybe it's the time spent in each phase per performer type. So I'm not sure if Dimitris can also help me with this graph alone. So
yes, yeah, if I may have a brief comment here, is that as you can see, okay, this will be very clearly demonstrated next week with a pendulum scenario. But what we want is that these kind of scenarios are somehow front-loaded, if I may use this expression, for low and moderate performers, and back-loaded for high performers. So given that there is a specific amount of time for all the students, usually what we have seen so far, and in the pendulum scenario in Greek that we are almost reaching 500 implementations by now, is that low and moderate performers are making use of the time in the first phases, the engagement, the hypothesis. And in the experiment, we see this image flip the other way around. So we see that then there is not a lot of time for, because they have gone into the loops and so on. So there is not a lot of time for the low and the moderate performers. And we see high performers have higher times. As I said, we're going to see that in detail next week. And Nikos, if I may have one more comment here, please.
Yep. Yeah.
It's that we have spoken about low, moderate, and high performers. I want to strictly emphasize that the students are not aware. If we go up to the Sankey diagrams, the students have no clue if after an inquiry phase, if they are high, low, or moderate performers. They just receive different tasks or they go forward, but they never know that, okay, you are a low or high performer or something like that. This is just for the teachers. Only the teachers know. And since this is fully anonymized, teachers get an overview of the classroom. So thank you, Nikos.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dimitri. Yep, so the dashboard, the most common paths taken by the students, and just to emphasize that you can, as a teacher, go into every scenario and check how it is structured by going into every activity. And for example, on the experiment phases of different scenarios, like now the pendulum, we have integrated the FET simulations, where students are provided by some instructions and they must complete an experiment. Alongside the FET simulation, we have the remote labs provided by Labsland. And our last integration will be VR and AR labs. I think that is all. So I'm open to questions, and thank you very much for your attention.
Excellent, thank you. And people, please don't be shy if you have questions. This will be new for most of you. So really, if there's anything you want to ask, while we're waiting to see if people want to ask anything, I'll share a couple more links. First of all, the link to register for next week's webinar, where Dimitris goes over the pendulum scenario. So that one, please don't miss that one. Registration is open. Here's a link to register for that. I'll also, while I'm talking and adding links, add a link to our Spring into Discovery Space mailing list, so that you don't miss any of the links to register for the webinars week by week. You'll receive a weekly reminder of when the webinar will be for that week, as well as details about the implementation challenge. So to be informed on those things, please sign up for next week's webinar and sign up for the mailing list. And as if that weren't enough links, here's also two websites: the Discovery Space website and the Spring into Discovery Space page on the European Physical Society website. We were just informed today by the Discovery Space community manager that he does not intend to publish this on the Discovery Space website, so it's on the EPS site for now. So if you want more information as it comes out, there it is. While I was talking, did anyone think of any questions they'd like to ask? Doesn't look like there's anything, but again, like we said, if anything comes up, you can ask in upcoming webinars, or don't be shy to contact us by email. I think we've waited enough time to see if there are any questions. Nikos, Dimitris, do you guys have anything more to say?
No, just yeah, I understand, Michael, as you said before, that people might are probably digesting what they have heard. So if after the end of this presentation there are questions, please feel free to reach to us.
And I guess with that, it seems like we don't have any questions, so we'll conclude. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming along to the webinar and for your interest in Discovery Space. I really hope after this introduction that you feel ready to try out the platform and that you're inspired to, as well as to join our other webinars to learn about the scenarios as they come. And of course, a big thank you to my Discovery Space partners, Nikos, Evangelia, and Dimitris for presenting. They were really the core of this webinar. I was just the one who sent out the link and said hi to everyone. So a big thanks to you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.